Do your fingers feel clumsy or uncoordinated? Do you feel like you're dropping things more after your stroke? If so, you're not alone. Up to 75% of stroke survivors deal with one-sided weakness, and that can impact dexterity and fine motor coordination. So today, I'm gonna share 15 activities that you can do with stuff from around your house to improve finger coordination. Most of us have an old deck of cards laying around the house. If you're just beginning to build finger coordination, start by shuffling the cards with basic movements. Then you can move to dealing cards, as this uses different dexterity movements. And if you're really up for a challenge, then you can try a bridge shuffle. This is a complex movement that requires a lot of coordination. Wearing clothes is something that most of us have to do on a daily basis. And sometimes that clothing has buttons. Shirts, pants, or jackets. Grab yourself something with buttons and practice your fine motor skills. You can make this activity harder by getting clothing with smaller buttons. Think collar and cuff buttons, or even trying to button a pair of pants while you're wearing them. You can make this activity a little easier by getting clothing that has larger buttons or looser buttonholes. While typing is taking over the world, there are still times when we need to write something down. For example, thank you letters, to-do lists, or writing a check. And we know that handwriting is often impacted when your affected hand is also your dominant hand. But handwriting can present a good opportunity to work on and improve your dexterity. One of my favorite resources is the Stroke Recovery Handwriting Workbook on Amazon, and I will leave a link to those down in the description below. But if you don't have the handbook, you can practice writing on lined paper. Start out with larger letters first and make your way down to smaller ones. Practice signing your name, or even practice writing a to-do list. Taking a pen cap off and on not only requires the coordination of your affected hand, but the coordination of both of your hands working together. And because pen caps are so small, it's a really great way to work on your dexterity. To make this activity a little less challenging, try taking off and putting on a pen cap using your whole affected hand. But if you're looking for more of a challenge, try only using your thumb, middle, and index finger to take the pen cap off, or even just your index and thumb. This will work not only on fine motor coordination, but also on building your pen strength. Like I said before, typing is taking over the world, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And typing can be a great activity that you can work on at home to improve your fine motor skills. It requires small, precise movements to type the letters that you want. And you can practice with both hands, knowing that your affected hand may move a little bit more slowly or more clumsily. You can also use the hunt and peck method with just your affected hand. And if you have sensory issues that make it hard for you to feel things, this is a great way to improve that as well. While physical money is being used less and less these days, most of us have some coins laying around the house. So go grab some and include both larger and smaller coins. To make this activity a little less challenging depending on where you're starting, start off with the larger coins and practice sliding them off the edge of a table or surface to pick them up. To make it more challenging, use smaller coins and pick them directly up off of the surface. But if you're looking for even more of a challenge, you can practice something called in-hand manipulation or translation, which is where you're going to start out with a coin in your palm and work it up to the end of your fingers. Think like you're getting ready to put a coin in a vending machine. I'd venture to guess most of you have a spare piece of paper laying around, or even a piece of junk mail you were going to throw away anyway. Well, grab that out and crumple it up with your affected hand, and then try to flatten it back out. Crumpling up paper and trying to flatten it is a great way to not only work on your dexterity, but also on your grip strength. Using thicker paper, like construction paper, is going to give you more of a challenge and more of a workout. Using thinner paper like printer paper, or even downgrading to tissue paper, is going to make it a little easier and less challenging if you're just starting out. Now this next one may be a little less obvious, but meals are a great time to practice your dexterity skills. If you're eating something that requires cutting, like fish, steak, or even a baked potato, it's a great chance to work on your fine motor skills. Having to coordinate the movements between both of your hands with the knife and the fork also targets your bilateral integration skills. And you can make this activity more or less challenging depending on the thickness of the foods that you're eating. For example, a steak is going to give you more of a challenge, while a flaky fish is going to be less so. If you have long hair, another great fine motor activity is to put your hair into a ponytail. This requires the use of those small movements of your fingers, as well as coordinating the movements of your hands together. You can make this activity less challenging by putting your hair into a low ponytail or clip, and you can make it more challenging by putting your hair into a high ponytail or even braiding. Braiding is very complex, and it's a great challenge if you're up for it. Zipping is another great activity that works on those small movements of your fingers, as well as the coordination of both of your hands. You can make zipping a little less challenging by practicing holding the clothing on your lap versus on you, and with clothing that has larger zippers. But if you're up for more of a challenge, put the clothing on and try zipping it while it's on you, or using clothing that has smaller zippers. And we have officially arrived at my favorite activity on this list, which is petting an animal. Now this activity is not only just good for fine motor coordination, but it can also improve your mood. So it's a 2-for-1 deal. You can make this activity a little less challenging by moving your hand back and forth, and making it more challenging by actually moving your fingers up and down as you pet. Either way, everyone in this scenario wins. I love Craftwork to address dexterity issues. It's just so much fun, and there are so many things that you can choose from. My personal new favorite has been Embroidery. The different stitches give more or less of a challenge. But if you have pain and stiffness in your hands, or maybe you're not to the point where you can hold on to a tiny needle yet, consider knitting or crocheting. Those have larger needles, and you'll still get something really neat at the end. If you're a handy person, or you just like to fix things yourself, you'll likely have some nuts, bolts, and screws laying around the house or the garage. Pour some out on a table. Practice picking up the screws one by one, being careful of any sharp bits. Or practice putting nuts and bolts together. You can make it a little bit easier by using the larger nuts and bolts or larger screws, and you can make it a little more challenging by using smaller ones. And if you actually have something to fix around the house, make it part of your dexterity workout. I know puzzles can be a bit over-recommended, but I really do like them for a home rehab program. They work on so many different aspects in recovery. Specifically with fine motor skills, you're working on picking the pieces up, rotating them to fit them in the right spot, and pushing them down. But you also get another bang for your buck with this one. It really works well on cognitive skills as well. If you've been having trouble with memory, attention, concentration, or problem solving, puzzles are a really fun way to work on that too. Painting or drawing are both great ways to address dexterity issues. As you know, I'm a huge proponent of including both craftwork and creative endeavors in a home recovery program. They can help scratch that creative itch and also give you a platform for self-expression, even if you can't speak. And a secondary benefit of this is getting into a flow state, which is where you become so immersed with what you're doing that you lose track of time. And this can help you deal more effectively with negative emotions and to be happier. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know, what are some activities that have been helpful to improve your dexterity? And as always, I'm leaving a link to sign up for the email list, which gets you free stroke recovery tips and motivational emails, as well as a copy of my ebook, The Stroke Recovery Pocket Guide. And if you find value in what we do and you're able, consider donating to Post Stroke, either via our Patreon, which gets you really cool perks, or through our PayPal for a one-time or recurring monthly donation. I've got links down in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.